Hello guys. So in this video I'll show you four concepts which when applied can significantly speed up your game in Tango, especially if you're a beginner or those people who are new to this. Tango is a logic puzzle that you can play on LinkedIn. Alright, for those who are unfamiliar with the game, I'll quickly show you how it's played. So the goal of this game is to fill up this entire grid with either suns or moons. Now there are a few rules to how we can place these suns and moons. So one rule is that there cannot be more than two suns or two moons horizontally in a row or vertically in a column. So that means there can't be three moons together. So in between these two moons, it has to be a sun, otherwise it breaks the rule. Now the other rule is that there should be an equal number of suns and moons in each row and in each column. So this is a row of 4 squares, so there should be 2 suns and 2 moons. So naturally this has to be a sun. And if there's an equal sign in between any two squares, it means that it's the same symbol in both the squares. So here's a sun, so there should be a sun here as well. And then if there's an X sign or an opposite sign between two squares, it means that they have opposite symbols. So if it's a sun here, obviously it should be a moon here. So now, now following this rule, you can't have more than two moons together. So this has to be a sun here again. Right. So this is how the game is played. Now, using logic and deduction, you'll have to fill up the grid. Yeah, so that's how the game is played. All right, so here we have a very hard Tango puzzle from tango.com. I'll provide a link in the description or something. Yeah, so there are four concepts which I mentioned that you can use to speed up your game. So one is that, let's say there are two moons or two same symbols together like this at the edge of a row. Now, obviously, by the rules of the game, this has to be a sun. The thing is that this could also be a sun. Now, the logical reasoning for that is as follows. So, let's say this is a moon, right? That would mean that these three would be suns, which is false. It can't happen. It breaks the rule of the game, right? So, by that reasoning, this has to be a sun. All right, so that's concept number one. If you have two of the same symbols at the edge of any, it could be a row or it could be a column like this as well. At the edge, if there are two in a row, immediately that these two would be the opposite symbols, right? So that is concept number one. Now number two is, let's say you have two of the same symbols at the edge, at each edges. All right, that means there's a huge white space in the middle. Now, if you see something like this, immediately you can place the opposite symbols like this. So if you have two moons in the edge, just inside the moons, you can place two suns. Now, the reasoning for that is again as follows. Assume this is a moon instead of a sun. That means that three suns would come in a row here, which would break the rule of the game. Now, if the moon is here as well, same thing applies. Three suns, are gonna break the rule of the game, which means neither this nor this can be a moon. So this and this will be suns. All right. So if you see two same symbols at the ends of a row or a column, you can immediately place the opposite symbol in the right next to it in between. Right. Now, concept number three, let's say instead of all the way at the edge, the similar symbols are, like this with three squares in between. All right, so if you have similar symbols at the ends of three squares, this is getting a bit obvious, right? So you can't have three suns here in a row, which means that one sun has to be out of it at least, right? So that means this one that's outside has to be a sun, right? All right. So if you ever see something like this, which has three spaces in between, immediately go for the outer remaining space with the opposite symbol. So that was concept number 3. All right. Now concept number 4 is, let's say you have an opposite symbol like this X mark, and you have two similar symbols somewhere in the row or column. So in this case, we have two moons here, and there's an opposite symbol in between these squares here, right? Immediately you can place two suns like this. Right now, reasoning for that is that, let's say in this you have opposite symbols. So one has to be a moon here and, sorry, a sun here and a moon here, or it could be a moon here and a sun here. Either way, within these four squares, all three moons are placed, meaning these two have to be suns. Right? Now, this doesn't have to be in this configuration always. So the opposite symbols could be somewhere here, and the moons could be here, for example. And then these two immediately are gonna be suns. So if you have two of the same symbols somewhere, and two white squares have an X mark in between them, the remaining two will be the opposing symbols, right? So these four concepts, just with these four concepts, if you sort of memorize them, and you can apply it throughout the game and then speed up your entire game in the process. So I'll just try to solve this particular puzzles using Tango's rules as well as the concepts which I showed you right now, and see if we can do it without any hiccups. All right, so here I know it's gonna be two suns, obviously, because otherwise it'll be three moons in a row. Opposite is this. Here it's a sun. Right, now we have, like I mentioned before, two moons on the opposite end. So immediately I know it's gonna be two suns here, right? Now what's next? All right, let's see. There are two moons here, opposite symbol here in between two white squares. So it has to be two suns here. Now two suns here, opposite symbol in between two white squares, which means it has to be two moons here. Two moons here, three white spaces in between, which means it has to be a sun here. Now suns at the end, which means these two have to be moons. All right, the remaining one has to be a sun. Again, two suns at the end, which means these two have to be moons. Now, all right, these are pretty obvious, no need for an explanation. All right, two moons on the edge, which means sun's gotta go here, right? All right, this is pretty obvious, no need for an explanation here. And yeah, and with that, I have solved the puzzle. All right, so those were the four concepts that would help you speed up your game. So no need for you to mid-game sit down and logically derive conclusions on your own. You could just apply these shortcuts and significantly speed up your game and get top 5%, top 1% speeds in the world. That's how it helped me to get to some scores like that. Hope this helps you, especially if you're a beginner. This is probably gonna really speed up your game. Thanks for watching. See you later.